lied to everyone. You know exactly what you did.
You share the exact same DNA and grew up under the exact same roof, yet sitting with them feels like standing behind a wall of soundproof glass. They call you the difficult one, the overly sensitive one, the black sheep. But what if I told you that feeling like a complete stranger to your own relatives has absolutely nothing to do with your personality, and everything to do with a hidden psychological defense mechanism your family is actively using against you right now? Families will often secretly engineer one person to be the permanent outsider, just to maintain their own fragile, toxic balance. They actually need you to be the problem. Once you understand exactly how this psychological trap works, you'll realize that your failure to fit in wasn't a symptom of being broken. It is the ultimate proof that you are the only healthy one in the room.
This behavior has to stop, Alex. You're hurting everyone here.
We can't keep covering for you.
Alex, look at me when I'm talking to you. You haven't touched your food, and this attitude is unacceptable.
Picture your last family gathering. You're sitting around the table surrounded by people who have known you since birth. But as the conversations flow, the inside jokes land, and the nods of agreement are passed around, you feel a suffocating tightening in your chest. You're physically there, but psychologically you are miles away. When you try to share a thought or an opinion, there's a collective pause, an eye roll, a subtle shifting of posture. The unspoken message is always loud and clear. You don't get it. You don't belong here. This isn't just a fleeting moment of awkwardness. It is a chronic, invisible pattern of emotional alienation. Over the years, you've probably internalized this rejection. You've spent countless nights staring at the ceiling, replaying interactions, asking yourself, why am I so different? Why is connection so effortless for them and so excruciatingly hard for me? You've likely twisted yourself into knots trying to conform. You've watered down your personality, suppressed your core values, and bit your tongue just to buy a temporary ticket into the family circle. But the ticket always expires, and you're right back out in the cold. The pain of this is profound because biology wires us to seek safety in our tribe. When your tribe rejects you, your brain registers it as a threat to your very survival. So naturally, you assume you are the broken one. You assume you are the puzzle piece with the wrong shape. But stop for a second and look at the puzzle. What if the puzzle itself is warped? In psychology, there is a clinical term for your exact role, the identified patient. And here is the reality-shattering truth. Your family didn't isolate you because you're fundamentally flawed. They isolated you because you are the only one subconsciously threatening to expose their dysfunction. Every dysfunctional family operates like a fragile machine. It is held together by deep denial, unspoken rules, and buried trauma. If one gear suddenly stops spinning in the exact same direction, the entire machine threatens to fall apart. You are that gear. To keep the machine running, a toxic family system requires a very specific role, the emotional dumping ground. Psychologists call this the identified patient, but you know it as the scapegoat. Your family gave you a full-time job you never applied for. If you are labeled the difficult one, the overreactor, or the problem, then by default, everybody else gets to be normal. They projected their own unresolved chaos onto you so they wouldn't have to face it themselves. But here is the detail that will change everything you know about yourself. Lightning doesn't just strike randomly. Why did they choose you? You probably assume it was because you were the weakest. You're wrong. They targeted you because of your strength. You were the child who asked the wrong questions. You were the one who noticed when things didn't add up. You likely have the highest emotional intelligence in your family, paired with an incredibly low tolerance for fake behavior. In a dysfunctional system, truth-tellers are dangerous. Your basic need for authentic connection acted as a mirror reflecting their deepest flaws. They couldn't handle the reflection, so they had to break the mirror. But the way they break it is so subtle, it makes you question your own reality. They don't just kick you out. They use a drip feed of micro-rejections. A sarcastic comment disguised as just teasing, a convenient lapse in memory every time you try to set a basic boundary. They rewrite history in real time, constantly casting you as the villain of every single story. Over time, this invisible psychological warfare rewires your nervous system. You start anticipating the rejection before it even happens. You pull away, you stay quiet, you isolate yourself, and right when you finally step back to protect your peace, they deploy the ultimate trap. They point to your distance and use it as the final, undeniable proof that you are the problem. Look how cold they are, they whisper. Look how they abandon us after everything we have done. They weaponize your self-preservation to completely validate their delusion. If they can convince themselves that you are simply unreachable, they never have to look into the mirror you are holding up. This is where the psychological manipulation reaches its peak, and this is exactly where your cycle has to end. You have spent your entire life believing that your inability to blend into this family was a symptom of your own brokenness. But you were never broken. You were immune. That deep, agonizing feeling of being an outsider was never a failure to connect. It was your psychological immune system actively rejecting a toxic environment. You feel like a stranger to them because you are fundamentally foreign to their dysfunction. You speak the language of accountability, emotional depth, and growth in a house that only understands denial, control, and survival. Think back to that wall of soundproof glass you felt standing between you and them. You always assumed you were locked out. But the truth is, that glass wasn't built to keep you out. It was built to keep you safe. Walking away from the role of the identified patient is excruciating because it requires grieving the family you deserved but were never given. But the moment you stop trying to jam yourself into a warped puzzle, the suffocating weight finally lifts. You get to reclaim the exact traits they penalized you for. Your profound sensitivity becomes your greatest superpower. Your absolute refusal to tolerate fake behavior becomes the exact foundation you will use to build your chosen family. You were never the difficult one. You are the cycle breaker. The generational trauma that was quietly passed down for decades finally collided with someone strong enough to say no. You are not the black sheep. You are the one who finally found the way out of the dark.
Where do you think you're going?
They always do this. They can't handle criticism.
Fine, just walk away.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. This behavior won't be tolerated anymore.
But stepping out of the dark brings a completely new challenge. The overwhelming guilt they secretly programmed into you to ensure you would always come back. Breaking the cycle doesn't end with just walking away. It requires actively rewiring the false beliefs they forced onto you for decades. If you are ready to stop carrying their shame and finally build the life you actually deserve, hit subscribe to join a community of cycle breakers taking their power back. And if you are actively struggling with the guilt of putting yourself first, click the video on your screen right now. I will show you exactly how to dismantle their final trap.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. You haven't touched your food, and this attitude is unacceptable.